my dad is a jazz bass player, you know, so he came out of the tradition of like, you know, Ray Brown, and I grew up in a culturally very open-minded household. So I grew up with all sorts of music. You know, I mean, in the '60s, you know, I heard everything like from Duke Ellington, Oscar Peterson, Tito Puente, Frank Sinatra, but also heard the Stones, the Beatles, Hendrix, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, classical music. So I grew up, like, my parents showed me that, you know, it's just music, you know, and, you know, of course, then I went into, when I was 11 or 12, I went into prog rock, you know, and I idolized some things that right now, I understand was not so happening, you know. But
do you mean like Yes and Genesis, that sort of thing, or? Well,
Genesis was a good band, you know. No, other bands, you know. I don't want to rant on some of the bands that were really popular, and some people still think they're great. But you know, like eventually, like I started to understand, you know, like, oh, okay, well, it's not just about the big drum set, you know. It's like. You know, then, you know, well, that was a time in my life when I was into Cole Palmer, but, you know, that was completely eradicated once I heard Mahavishnu Orchestra for the first time, which at that time I was like maybe 8 years old, and that was a great thing because my parents always took me to gigs. So I'm not that old, but I still saw most of the legendary bands in their prime, you know, which a lot of guys in my generation did not. Right. And that was because my parents took me when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old to see Zeppelin, or, you know, and so then, you know, I went to do Tony Williams, you know, and I started to understand where all the things came from, and I always had a curiosity for going to the bottom of things, you know, and without a doubt, you know, like, you know, when you go back, when you start to understand really music, then you understand that basically Louis Armstrong, and let's say Louis Armstrong or Hendrix or Aphex Twin, you know, it's all the same thing. It's like, it's rock and roll, really. Yeah. Whatever you call it, you know, at one period you call it jazz, then you call it rock and roll, then you call it dance, electronic music, but, you know, it's just about creativity, about, you know, innovation, it's about thinking outside of the box, creating something new, fighting the establishment, rebellion, whatever it is, you know, or being emotional, or the blues, or whatever it is, you know, it's just like, it's an art form, you know, it goes beyond just the technology.